For RCR Wireless News, I'm Sean Kinney. We're here on the Mavenir stand at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona to bring you a very exciting CEO panel. It's a pleasure to introduce to my left Mr. Vishok Persaud from Enet, Pardeep Kohli, CEO of Mavenir, and from 1&1 in Germany, Mr. Michael Martin. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. So Pardeep, I'd like for you to maybe set the stage for us a bit. We're 5 years into the 5G cycle approximately. Innovation has maybe not materialized as quickly as we would have hoped for. Neither have service revenues, but costs certainly have gone up. So how should operators be focusing on this problem today, and what can they do to break out of that cycle in the future?
Now that's an interesting observation. 5G brings in a lot more bandwidth so that we're going to have a lot more data. It also gives you technology for having low latency and to be able to do services which were not possible earlier. But of course, to implement them and deploy them and make money out of it, operators have to be innovative enough to do it, right? So you obviously need the courage first, right, of getting there and getting it done. And the second is you need the systems which are flexible and make the whole process of onboarding, the whole process of bringing a customer on board, getting them to use the service, and getting them to make the changes as required. All those are essential components, right? Because this is a kind of green field, right? Today operators are used to selling services, make a phone call, sending message. Now for them to get selling new areas, they have to learn how to become more flexible. And that's the part I think operators have not fully gone through that journey yet.
And from the operator perspective, Michael and Vishok, maybe to just set the table a little bit, you can tell us how you have designed and deployed your networks today, and then sort of outline the vision for the future, but with the context that Pardeep just mentioned. How do you get from a sort of stagnant environment revenue-wise to something that's much more dynamic, much more innovative? Michael, can we start with you?
Yeah, I can start. We started building a network totally out of the green field. So we had not a single radio site, we had no core data center, we had nothing. We come from an MVNO business, so we are looking from the customer perspective, a totally brownfield with 12 million customers in Germany, but looking from a network operator perspective, we are totally greenfield. So we had the choice whether we go the legacy way with the legacy vendors, or we try something new. And when we started in 2021, we felt the time was right to start something new and to start an Open RAN based network. And why have we gone for that? Our DNA in our company, in 1&1, we are an internet company. Since the 80s, 90s, it started really with BTX and developed all over the internet boom that happened back then. So our DNA in the company was always data, internet, connectivity, not so much telecommunication. And when this concept of Open RAN appeared and the disaggregation of hardware and software, that immediately catch the attention of us, and we understood it immediately, right? So where we see the big value is, and the flexibility, in providing software services only on any hardware, whatever you can find. And we believe that this, or the rest that Pardeep mentioned, the onboarding of the customer, the agility, is a result of that design decision that you disaggregate. And that's why we decided for Open RAN and why we decided the concept like we have it. We started the network in December and so far have not regretted it. It's 3 months now, 3 months, so far so good.
And so Vishok, tell us what's happening with Enet in Guyana, and give us a little bit of insight into these market dynamics and how they affect your business.
Sure, thank you. So I think one of the things is we're a local operator in Guyana. There are 2 big international players there. And we are mainly a cable TV provider. We have an internet background. We're a wireless internet startup. We were able to build in our own international connectivity via subsea. But when it came to mobile and really taking the business in that direction, we had to find a competitive edge, because you're going up against these big giants. You can't invest in the same thing which they've had sunken cost. And our search was really a competitive edge. And we found Mavenir to be the answer because, again, it's software driven, scalability, so we could build and scale as we grew. And they had the IMS, the VoLTE, and what they did for us that was extremely interesting is a digital enablement platform. So we were able to onboard customers using their MD services, their BSS, their entire billing platform. They designed the app for us that allowed us to quickly have customers interact with their product. But the key here, and as we said earlier, is to benefit from 5G. One is you have to create the additional value in revenue streams, which is applications that will utilize 5G. But in the interim, I think there's an opportunity with 5G, with the way Mavenir is deploying in their MD and in their software-driven scenario, that you can create a high level of efficiency. And that high level of efficiency can bring costs down as compared to a traditional vendor. Like for instance, my competitors are on 3G voice, we're VoLTE. So we've got better quality, better scale, and we can grow the business and still be competitive because now we've been able to reduce, if you want to look at it, the cost per bit, because using high efficiency, more competitive technology. So I think we're positioned in Guyana as a leader, despite being the smaller of the three providers, but we've set the stage to where technology is going to go in that country. And I think what we're seeing is also the adaptation of the consumer. And sometimes you got to build it to sell it. And we've put that platform in place, and now we're also going to look to see how do we monetize and how do we generate revenue from what we've built outside of the traditional scope of products that may have been commoditized now.
Yeah, you mentioned some interesting phrases there, Vishok, that I think are very applicable to the telecoms industry at large. How do you have a competitive edge in this environment where things are cloud-based, where they are software-centric, and where they are increasingly commoditized? So where does differentiation come from? Where does innovation come from? And what does your workforce have to do with it? And I'd pose this to all three of you, really, to get some ranging commentary. But Michael, could you start us off?
You mean where the innovation comes in? I think the agility, as I said before, really comes from the fact that you are not bound to any hardware limitations anymore. We have chosen Mavenir because we believe Mavenir is the greatest software company in telecom industry and the most agile one. And when we talked about how do we deploy the network, we never discussed which hardware do we use or which environment do we use. We only talk software. And I think one of the best examples that I always like to Pardeep is already smiling, that I always bring is we developed a core network, total modern architecture, everything brand new. And then we figured out we missed one functionality in our mailbox system, right? Total no-brainer, which our 12 million customers today have. So I called up Pardeep and said, hey, Pardeep, we need to activate that functionality in the mailbox. He said, yeah, okay, no problem, 2 weeks it's there. And this is maybe a silly example because it's nothing groundbreaking new, a mailbox function, but this is the paving the way how I envision the future. When I have an idea, I would call him up and say, can we do that? And he said, let me go back check, comes back tomorrow and say, yeah, we're gonna do it. So, this agility, I'm not used to that in telecom industry because normally you get a quote, you get a CR, you get hardware, you get this, you get that. No, in our case it's a call, okay, we talk money as well, but usually it's we can do it at least. They intend to do it. Yeah.
So yeah, Vishok, what's your perspective here? How do you really differentiate, and how do you really deliver value not just to your customers but to your own organization?
Right. So that's a very interesting question because one is without the scenarios and the solutions that we see from Mavenir, the likes of Mavenir today, you would be competing with the legacy operator, the legacy hardware that has a traditional setup that they can use as a foundation. But with this, the way the software is done now, the solutions in the cloud, Open RAN, you are now able, and you can create a green field that is immediately competitive because the cost of entry is less and the technology is cutting edge. And I go back to my word of scalability. One of the things Mavenir has done for us is recognize that we were a smaller vendor and we have created phases in how we will grow. increased compute power, more containers, more, and as we scale, the product grows with us. That's something that traditionally, if you're buying that hardware infrastructure or that particular router framework, you're buying something that maybe starts way bigger than we will ever need to get the functionality. So the concept of the software, the cloud native, just gives you so much flexibility and agility, to borrow his word. And I think that automatically puts you in the innovation space, because now you're not confined to thinking within the box, because like he said, you could call up and have the conversation, have the idea, bounce it around, and it could become a reality, whereas the traditional method had a menu of products, and that was basically what you had to choose for. So you're going to see the era of API monetization, you're going to see the era of network monetization, because you've got so much points of data to reference. And I think like I said, you build it, they'll come. But not only that, there's revenue potential that you're not even thinking of as yet that could be on the table.
So Pardeep, we've gotten some very valuable insight from two of your customers, but maybe you could give us the more macro level when you think across all of your customer engagements and think about the telecom industry at large. How do we really make this transition from legacy telco to techco?
No, so we have customers of all different sizes. I can tell you we do very well with challengers. Our largest customer for many years has been like T-Mobile in US. So they were the third operator in the US market, actually one time fourth operator, and now they are number 2. And we work with them to innovate a lot of new things. We were first one to do voice over Wi-Fi, VoLTE, RCS, packetized core, right? So similarly, as Mike pointed out, one-on-one, we're working with them, right? So, and what I find is that the bigger operators, they are of course bureaucratic and they like big vendors and want to do slow things in a very small way. So there the challenges come is that all these AI tools and open tools are meant to give you ways to innovate and move faster. But if you don't make use of it and you're very slow, right, then of course you give opportunity to the competitor who are more agile and flexible to actually take you over, right? So that's where I think we tell all our customers that if you're really not going to innovate, and all you want is lowest cost per bit, then a proprietary solution is good enough for you, because it's better to build an appliance which does only 3 things and and you just use it. But the whole idea is if you want to grow ahead and be the leader, then you need to be more adopt the cloud and openness and AI and all those things. And that what we are finding is smaller operators who are more agile and creative and want to, so we normally do very well with those type, and of course we do provide systems to big operators too, but I find it very difficult for them to move that fast. Yeah.
And then Michael, you all in Germany have done something very bold, very deliberate in the way that you have designed and deployed this network. Rakuten Symphony as your prime integrator, Mavenir as a very strong supplier, but one of a lot of suppliers. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about how you manage that degree of complexity in that multi-vendor environment, and maybe anything that would be instructive to other operators that go down that route.
There's an easy answer that would be too easy. Rakuten is doing it for me. So they are managing the complexity, which is only half of the truth. As you said, Rakuten Symphony is my prime contractor, and they are dealing with all the subcontractors. I have more than 80, I think it's 82 partners in total that need to be kept together. But I have small partners, medium partners, normal partners, and then I have one very important partner, which is Mavenir, because they are a provider of my whole core network. So I would say, generally, you need to have, at least in a small company like we are not Deutsche Telekom, or not one of the huge elephants who do it all on our own. We are small and we want to stay small, and then you need a prime contractor who is managing everything. But nevertheless, with the really big important player in your ecosystem, you need to have direct relationships, and especially with those who can give you a benefit in your business, who can bring you ahead of competition with new ideas or with new agilities. And that's why I believe that the partnership between 1&1 and Mavenir is something special, because you need to have that. although we don't even have a we don't even have a direct contract, we are working very closely.
Almost every day.
Yeah, we are talking almost every day because we have so many points to interact, and only we together can make the difference. I would not say that about all my other partners. If a router or an antenna comes from A or B, that you do not win an innovative advantage there. But with your core network, you could. So the answer is shortly, you need to have somebody orchestrating the whole thing, but you also need to have point-to-point direct relations to the most important ones.
And Vishok, tell us a little bit about your relationship with Mavenir, some of the decisions you made along the way of designing, deploying your network, and then how that figures into your day-to-day operations.
Right. So one of the things that we have from Mavenir is managed services. So on a daily real-time basis, they look at our network and react many times before we notice an issue. And that was something that we put in place once we went live. And it's something that I think I would recommend because obviously they know their product, they've got a wider range of skill sets. So we've got our NOC as well that handles on the level 1. But on the integration as well, very early on, I was kind of using this word turnkey because I felt at our size, we have a saying, I don't know if you know it, but too many cooks, could spoil the meal, right? So we kind of made sure that we lined up what our ideas needed to be, where we wanted the product to look like, and then we worked mainly with Mavenir to design most of it. We do have, I think in all, we have about 13 vendors that's interlinked, mostly network, etc. And we've used the Mavenir resources to kind of project management as well. As a matter of fact, the project is managed by Mavenir, and then we have that after service in the two fields. One is the IMS and the mobile core, and then we have the MD components, and we have managed services for both. So it also allows us and allows them to kind of understand the network more, so that when we go to upgrades and so on, they also are with us in understanding where the challenges are and what we need to work on. So we've got a continuously evolving platform and product, and again, that's the benefit of going the software route.
So Pardeep, it's interesting to hear from your two customers here. Vishok uses the phrase turnkey, and you have a very comprehensive solution all the way out to the managed service. With Michael, you're a very important supplier, but one of 82, I believe you said. So organizationally at Mavenir, how do you balance this? How do you balance being an end-to-end provider while also being a very important ecosystem player, a very important proponent of openness? What does that look like?
So, we have been in business since 2005. I've been doing this, I guess, for 30 years now. And one thing is, right, what services we provide, like voice calling, messaging, data connectivity, they're mission critical, right? If I'm as a consumer, if I can't make a phone call, send a message, can't data connect, I'll be myself upset, doesn't matter, who it is. So from that perspective, from the very beginning, we understand that what we offer to a customer is their bread and butter, right? In fact, when I was 10, 15 years ago, Caetano was here a minute ago, there's Telefonica, and he was at that time CTO of Telefonica Germany. And before they gave us the IMS business, VoLTE business, he told me, my kid is in 5th grade, if I gave you business, I'm relying on you that I'll have a job till he goes to college. Because once I buy your equipment, it has to be there working for 10 years, right? Otherwise it's not. So what we realize is that what we do is important, that's the one which generates money, because you can't be a carrier without offering a phone service or messaging and all that, right? So what we have done is we've built the teams which understand the telecom, the protocols, the IT, and we blend it together. And you need a combination of capabilities, right? You need different kind of people to come together, and that's only make it work, because sometimes there's an IP issue, there's a router issue, there's a setting issue, there's 100 issues which can...
An MTU size issue.
Right? Just to make a phone call, there's 20 products involved, right? And then some are in your control, some are in the partner, some is in different carrier, operator, all of that, right? So we have now done this for 20 years, and that's the part which I think some of the carriers don't really fully realize, is that if you bring a third-party SI or any of that stuff who doesn't really have a domain knowledge, I don't blame them. They get the business, somebody hires them, they will take the business. But the reality is they can't never do it, because it is so involved and it's not easy, right? And there's many layers of it. So That's where I think, there are certain operators who have good capability in-house, like Deutsche Telekom, for example, has good capability, AT&T, Verizon. Even in T-Mobile, we do a lot of it for them, right? So there's some operators which leave it to us. Some have good capability in-house, and we do it for them.
So Michael and Vishok, listening to your commentary today, I guess what stands out to me is that you are faced with very different problem opportunity spaces across many dimensions, market dynamics maybe front and center, but you arrived at fairly similar conclusions and fairly similar approaches, and they both hinge on a strong relationship with your suppliers, particularly Mavenir, that feels very instructive to our audience and like something that should be taken into account as we think long-term about the cloudification of networks, about these software-first operational models. So maybe give us some summary thoughts here that you'd leave our audience with that kind of encompass our conversation.
I think it's a long overdue step for the telecom industry to finally disaggregate software from hardware. If you look back in IT industries, one would have never bought a Dell computer and use a Dell software, right? A Dell Word mail program. There is not even a Dell mail program. So in IT, it was always usual that you use software from A, hardware from B. You use software from Microsoft, hardware from HP, whatever. And in telecom industry, that was never there so far. And we believe it's long overdue because it releases a lot of pressure from the operator and opens up many chances, not only commercial, not negotiation games, but also technical innovations are opened up at them. And plus, I want to bring one more thought to the table. The architecture that we deployed in our network is with many disaggregated data centers. We built 500 disaggregated data centers, and in all of them we can mount applications. So we can provide real-time edge services directly at the antenna, more or less. And also there, disaggregation of software and hardware is absolutely needed, because otherwise we could never ask a third party to deploy their applications there. So my call for action to the operators is, I know not everybody is a greenfielder like we are, not everybody has the luxury of starting new, but trust into that disaggregation, trust into Open RAN, and try to go that hard way, because it really pays off long term. That's my assumption.
Vishok?
Yeah. So to add what Michael said, I think if I were to summarize, we need to move away, and if you look traditionally, the proprietary route always locks you in. And we're talking about an innovative industry, an innovative era, and a sector that moves at a rapid pace. And I think aligning with software-based solutions, aligning with flexible solutions, aligning with open solutions allows you at the operator level to be innovative in itself. Because a lot of the times when you're on the proprietary trail, you're kind of stuck with the roadmap of that vendor and the collective, which is basically you and your competitors are on the kind of like the same wave, right? So this gives you that opportunity to take it in to some extent. You have some influence and control on the direction and the product differentiation that you could create. So I think, and I would encourage operators to go this route, because as you get a bigger share, maybe obviously you're always going to have a proprietary portion, and however the division of the market looks like. But as the open market grows and that opportunity presents itself to you, and you're looking for that differentiation, you're looking for that difference, you're looking for that scalability, flexibility, and the ability that if the industry moves a lot quicker, that you could just look at software upgrades, etc., to get you to the next scenario. Because we have in-house cloud as well, and basically we're just scaling hardware, we're adding features, we're adding capacity. We've got other vendors, we've loaded other solutions with video, everything. They all sit on the same platform. It reduces your infrastructure costs, your OPEX, and your maintenance and everything, and it gives you that ability to coexist. And I think the API world and the realization now that API is also a monetization tool, those are all things that gives you that flexibility and control when you start looking more at the open solution. So I think that would be my little way of summarizing.
And Pardeep, final word to you here, please.
No, well, thanks to both of these gentlemen, first of all. They are a great example of how an operator can build a next generation cloud native network, which can get them ready for adding more services, making money. At the end of the day, right, if connectivity is the only value an operator brings, it'll be raised to zero, right? And so that means it has to be broader than that, and it has to be more something where you add more capabilities in the network and provide better services or better applications to businesses and consumers.
Gentlemen, it's a really insightful conversation. I think it's an important conversation for our audience. Thank you for taking the time to have it with me today.